at 7:04. Is there any questions on the meeting minutes distributed? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve as distributed?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
No typos either.
discussion on the motion, no typos. All right, seeing discussion, all in favor of approving the minutes as distributed.
Aye.
And the treasurer's report.
The only thing we needed to talk about is whether or not we had money for. Right.
Oh, yeah, thank you for remembering. That was for the publishing of the bylaws, right, through E-code.
Yep.
So the E-code where your bylaws are, all the town's bylaws are stored. For public access is updated and maintained by E-code. So they charged whatever that amount was.
$4,500.
Yeah. To do a bunch of our bylaw updates that we've done throughout the last couple of years. And so the request came in from the town manager if the board would be willing to dedicate funds from your expenses to help pay for that, because a large amount of the updates to the bylaws obviously were zoning bylaws. The inclusionary zoning, which was not short, was not brief. ADUs, right, MBT, well, no, they haven't incorporated the ADUs in the MBTA yet, but the inclusionary zoning for sure. The solar overlay, again, those are really the two big ones, but accounted for a lot of space, obviously. Revisions to the UCBD districts within the notes that you did, that was, smaller change, but a change.
So you said, my recollection is we have like 3,600 left in our expense, and you said we had to hold out a couple hundred at least for
Whistle.
400 for advertising.
Yeah, I think we have. I have two applications for public hearings that we need to pay for out of the expenses, right? So we have the definitive subdivision, which is for June 24th, as well as what you'll review tonight, the large lot frontage reduction, which was submitted. So we'll need a public hearing on that. Roughly $300 per application for public hearing notices is what it costs. So I'm anticipating, upwards of $600 that will be necessary for the remainder of this fiscal year, which is ends a month from now. So would the board be supportive of, what was it, like 3,000?
Maybe 3,000 is cutting it.
3,000, yeah.
25 or 2750. I mean, anything we offer is better than nothing, right?
See if I can pull up the email, so I can add.
So we have three, I'm sorry, I'm getting lost. We're 3,000 left.
Roughly 36, 35.
That's left in our
account.
our account.
Is that something we should make a motion and vote on? When?
Yeah.
Motion.
No, he's going to just confirm some numbers.
Yeah, I want to get the numbers. I apologize.
It could be the available funds. You can. The available.
Yes, I was thinking.
Remaining available.
Actually, yeah.
It may change because of interest. It may change from the time we vote on it to when they actually take it out. So
Yeah.
Okay.
And we could probably delay paying Civic Plus until wherever it is, Eco,
Yeah.
until we're sure we know exactly what we have to offer.
Is this an annualized expense?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's an expense that only comes up if you're doing if you're doing changes to the
Okay.
bylaws, right? So there's no standard cost to it year to year, really.
So we'll probably have to do it next year too.
Oh, yeah.
So is there a motion to authorize the selectmen? Is that what we'd be doing? To transfer, or who are we authorizing to transfer the funds?
No, actually, I think we're authorizing, we're agreeing, the planning board is agreeing to pay up.
Yeah.
from available funds to
Yes.
pay for whatever. So basically, we offer whatever we have.
Yeah,
Is there a second? Discussion on the motion? We know discussion.
All right.
So all those in favor of, transferring the available funds in the account,
It's not a transfer. We'll just spend it right out of the account.
spend it to,
Do we need to define when available at June thirtieth?
what, I'm sorry?
Should we specify funds available on June thirtieth?
Oh, you know, you should do it for this fiscal year, rather than take it out of the next fiscal year.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
No, I'm just trying to figure out the funds available when.
then you
Honestly,
should
we
say
get
before.
committed to first week in July,
Okay.
knowing exactly how much we have left to contribute.
If the funds in the, if funds on or before June 30th.
I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Okay.
All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect.
See, oh yeah, Bill, your estimations were right on the money so far. Specific phrase.
Of course.
There were, no, I think I said in an email, there was,
Yeah.
I don't, have much of a report, today, so I didn't, prepare anything. The, anything new is on the agenda.
Thank you. Who would not required?
There's none today.
Annual election of officers, we can move that to the end. Make sure Margaret gets here.
Oh, thank you. Let me take minutes. And then next week, the new person's gonna be.
Great minutes when you.
No, the assistant planner is gonna be.
Right?
All right, Mayflower Drive, did we just have that discussion?
You did, I'll just briefly, what am I waiting on that? I reached out, I still don't have an answer from the accountant. I reached out to Kenny with regard to this question on, do we need to move those funds to like an expense account? Like, so the bond money, right, that was submitted for the roughly $70,000 that you have in bond for that subdivision. Does that need to be moved to an expense account with a new account number and all that, so that when we're ready to actually start paying people to do work out there, that's all set up. So I just haven't heard back, but I did send in that request to the accountant to set
Treasurer,
everything up.
town treasurer, town accountant, you talked to, or
I think I included Bill on that as the treasurer, but I spoke with,
or de facto town.
Finance director.
yeah, no, I sent to our finance director the request. I'm still waiting to hear back from that.
You didn't get on the other thing. You and I with the, for the infrastructure loan. The grants.
That's right. I still don't have that, do I? No.
Okay, 130 South Street. Oh, no, actually, it's the sawmill. They were looking for to release lots.
So, yeah, you have a request, I believe it's in your packet, which was also sent to you. Request from Morel Construction, the applicant, for the subdivision that's now known as Sawmill Brook Lane, for the release of the lots, that are subject to the covenant, so we can release out of the covenant. They have attached to that an opinion of cost for the completion of the work. So you see that they've estimated a total of 157,000 and change. So I have reached out to DGT, who is your peer review consultant on this project, to provide
If that,
a review of its documents. My question on that, and maybe this is something that the board take up at later business, or maybe like an annual annual business, to touch back on bonds that you have in place, right? So we've run into this issue, obviously, with your previous agenda topic of Mayflower Drive. Where you had the bonds,
Silence,
oh, sorry.
folks. It's a lot of background noise.
Okay, Mayflower Drive, right, the funds that were submitted for the bond at that time then became out of date as costs then escalated, so the bonds, the money that you have and now doesn't reflect today's values of what needs to be done, and that's the situation that we're in. maybe be good to revisit these bonds. And unfortunately, you don't have many bonds that are just always kicking around, right, for this board, but
So generally, they want to finish the project and get it all back.
of course, yeah. And I'm sure Mr. Moreau will get this. He moved on it very quickly. I'm sure he'll get everything done and you won't be left with anything. But in the future, I'll just keep it in mind. But that's what I was just mentioning. Now it's like, go back to it each year. If it's still not complete, and say, we're gonna need more bond money because of changing costs. and
Well,
stuff like that.
One money now, does that cover what's,
I don't know, we're gonna have this reviewed. Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna have this total reviewed by TGT, who is the peer review consultant on the subdivision. And he will confirm to this board, whether or not he agrees with this opinion, and if not, we'll get some detail on it.
And then what we will do is we will hold 10% of this 15,700, if this is in fact the amount, until the road is completed or a year after completion. We generally don't know what's considered complete.
It's complete when town meeting accepts it, right?
That's one way,
Yeah.
or a year after completion of the roadway.
Hmm.
What's that mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but we still hold 10%.
Anyway, that was my only comment on it.
Excellent, thank you. So moving on. 30 South.
Oh, so you don't have any, through the chair, you don't have any business on 130 South Street? That's just a carryover, really?
Okay.
I believe I reached out to Stantec for a quote on peer review services for that. So I believe I'm still waiting to hear back from them. You do have, I did have a, for the other filing that's before you, that's not on this agenda, I did get a cost back for the subdivision East Street Estates, which is about $100. So you don't need to take any action on that tonight.
0 North Street, Forest Heights property. Now it says the owner is the town of Upton.
Yeah, is that correct?
The applicant and the applicant or what?
I'm not tonight, but possibly in the future, you have a formal application before
Because-
you.
Because it would be, who would, like, it says town of Upton, but I'm assuming it's what's like,
Yes, Lord Selectman is the overseer of those things.
should be a pleasure. What do we got for plans on that one?
You have some materials that were submitted. This is not a formal filing before you tonight. This is a discussion. We have Mike Penko from the Metacomet Land Trust, who submitted the information and has interest in the property. Mike, do you want to take us through the chair? And I'll bring up some documents on that.
This is something, what's this? What's it about? Take it away, sir. Right ahead.
Thank you. I'm here tonight representing Metacomet Land Trust. The Land Trust has spoken with the select board last fall about possibility of purchasing a conservation restriction on Forest Heights. Forest Heights is 107 acres. Last fall, the state had a grant program called Forest Reserve. Metacomet applied for the grant and we did get it. So now we're in the process of trying to work through this project. We have an appraised value of the conservation restriction of $800,000, which unfortunately is more than we anticipated the value would be. And it's probably,
Is that standard, that's market value,
well, we had an appraisal done,
market price or a highest value, highest use?
that one. Yeah. It was basically, the appraiser assumed two large lot. Would be the highest and best view. So realistically, Metacom doesn't think we can raise $800,000, so, we'd like to propose a plan to the selectmen and the planning board, to carve out one frontage lot out of that.
Which has 240.
Well, that's the thing. Currently it has, I believe, 240.1 feet.
Okay.
But what we'd like to do is, and you have the plan that shows the access? Yeah, you do.
I got it all up here, Mike, is it
Yeah, you do. Thanks, Bill.
this one?
Yeah,
Okay.
what we'd like to do is divide that frontage, the existing frontage lot, into an approximately 70-foot wide strip for access, for trail access, which would be retained by the town. The town would retain ownership, and then have a large lot reduced frontage lot. Create a large lot, reduced frontage lot, with about 3 acres on the rest of that lot. All 3 parcels, Forest Heights consists of 3 parcels, all 3 parcels would be merged. So you have well over the 3 times the zone area to play with. We don't want to go much further to the west, because there's a stream and wetlands. And we currently have an appraisal being updated to see how much this lot would be worth.
Have we got some, I have some, well, first of all, we're taking a conforming lot and making it non-conforming. We're not supposed to do that. It says with a home on it, but we're not, the planning boards are not allowed to do that. We can't make something non-conforming. As zoning board does the approvals of zoning change. We have to comply for zoning. We can't. Well, unless we start pulling side things, but I don't want to do that. So we're supposed to, on a large lot frontage, this 70-foot wide goes up to the house. And there isn't any additional anything allowed. We don't allow anything else to happen to it. You can't further subdivide it. You can't do anything else. And I'm not so sure we could do this. I need some clarity on, Mike, I need some clarity on the bylaws on this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get them in spending a bunch of money that we can't approve.
Right.
Or that they gotta go through extra steps before they come back.
So Mike, what is the, through the chair, what's the total frontage of the property that we have currently?
According to the town's tax maps, it's 240.1 foot.
Okay.
So you'd want to have a house there and then just use this, keep this, the town?
The town would keep that strip for trail access and parking, small parking.
And so this is in the AR district, which is the 240 minimum frontage.
I mean, you could easily get the house and have an easement like you have in other places to get there.
That is possibility. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about.
Because you wouldn't even need that much.
Well, I mean, if that's the reason I'm talking to you folks is right now we were assuming it would be town ownership. The grant administrator from the state is very concerned about public access. We'd have to go back to her and see if she'd be okay with an easement. I can't say she would, can't say she wouldn't, but she's really concerned about trail access, public access.
Tony, should I just, because this is a general question, you're being more particular, I'm just having a hard time understanding the whole basic concept here. Because I'm looking here at, so through the chair, I'm looking at here at about almost 4 acres. And here it says 3 parcels totaling 107 acres.
Yeah.
So what is not, is it the land? Where's the rest of the land? Is that part of the parcel?
Catherine,
Oh, okay, okay.
So what that map you're looking at is just this parcel.
Okay,
because that's the access that Mike was talking about.
okay.
These are the other parcels that are all, I guess, combined in ownership.
And who owns those?
This is the town.
The town already owns those.
With no access.
Okay.
Well,
So, and where is the house? I don't,
there is no,
oh, okay, okay.
So regardless of whether you do anything, or this person has it as an easement or as a right of way or owned by the town, still gonna be traffic there. Right, the person who builds this house is still going to expect people moving that thing, regardless of what the structure is, the people are gonna move on up and down that,
The trail.
the trail.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, and there'd be maybe a two lot parking area in the northeast corner of the lot.
From a planning board perspective, we'd have to do a lot of things to determine the legality of creating a non-conforming lot. But to approve this as a frontage lot, 5 minutes. And if we approve it as a frontage lot with an easement on it, it's still 5 minutes. So your process is inherently faster if it's frontage. You're gonna go into the large lot frontage, special permit. So goes through engineer. Ouch.
We are gonna have to have a survey done and develop a plan for the property, but again, I think well, this is helpful. I mean, I go back to the state grant minister and say, explain this. And hopefully she'll be okay with the easement.
And it should be half the price of that. If it's a house lot, then it's not $8,000. It's nice, but it's not worth that amount, especially if you have an easement on it. Well, again, the cost of developing this has to be considered in the purchase.
Yes, it won't be easy, even the lot itself will necessarily not easy to develop. It's got some topography to it. And, this property did have a couple of different subdivision plans over the years, as you probably remember. Neither one of them were built. It's got
It's a sensitive area.
in stream crossings, wetlands, topography. It's, on bedrock.
And this is the top of the hill, near the top.
Pretty much, yeah.
So the estimate says that for that 4 acres, roughly give a little under, the total assessed value is $800,000 for 4 acre lot.
no.
For the, so,
For everything.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
and that's the value of the conservation restriction, 600,000. That's what Metacom is proposing to purchase. from the town.
In round numbers, the appraiser felt that 2 large lots would be worth 900,000.
950.
950, and the value of the land with the restriction would be 150. So the difference between the 950 and the 150 was the 800.
800,000, correct.
We specifically can't put 2 large lot frontages on the same. You're not allowed to do that. So you couldn't, if you wanted to make this into 2 large lot frontages, it's just something we can't. It just says one per parcel. It's to discourage putting in a whole bunch of, because if it's just a frontage lot, you don't have to worry about a subdivision road that goes through a lot of engineering. And a lot of conservation stuff goes with that.
So do we have a problem with the appraisal? Did the appraiser make an error?
Oh, yeah.
In assuming,
For this, I would ask you, what is the value of a house lot? No building on it, just a house lot. Could go for 100 grand. Maybe a little more, but.
So
maybe a little less.
I understand what you're saying. You're saying that there's no way you could have 2 house lots with that frontage.
It's only 240 feet. That's one house lot.
and it would have to be a subdivision.
Would be a subdivision.
With, all the fun subdivision requirements.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
perhaps our appraiser made an error then in interpreting the towns bylaw. I'll have to go back and study the appraisal.
It's in that specific criteria of what you can and can't do, and we thought about that. And the whole idea was so that we didn't get buried in these. That we'd get, if somebody had a big piece of property and they ended up with 70 feet, 80 feet, and they still had 3 times the frontage, it's plenty enough to end, so don't build a second subdivision. Or if you had a house and you wanted to, section one off. That means everybody's gonna do that.
System. You have to go through all of the test from the reduction bylaw.
We did the best we could at the time.
So just make sure I understand this. So if the proposal was to create just 2 lots here, both of which would have reduced structures, that would not be allowed. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yeah, I believe so, because
No more than 2 large lot frontage should be great for many parts.
and more importantly, the provision that Tom, you were citing with that. You cannot take a conforming lot and make it non-conforming through the use of the large lot subdivision, so.
Yeah, exactly. It's written, it is not the intent of this bylaw to modify an existing conforming lot into multiple large lot frontage lots so that none of the resulting lots are conformed. You have 1 conforming plus, or you could make it a right of way or an easement. Be over 5 minutes with no special permit, no site plan.
Well, this is helpful.
Because we need that access.
Yes, access is very, everyone agrees we need to access this.
I'd love to see that happen.
The granting agency wants it. I've got one, so I'm sure the town. So,
Unless there's some,
so we have some work to do.
yeah, there it is up there, though, and those are, there's not many, but they're pretty specific. It doesn't have a home on it, so
Yeah,
we can say that that doesn't apply. Now, the intent
right,
is,
well, you did the other one, you.
but the other one you can't do, no.
And just one question. I have the assessor's map. Yes, the chair. It definitely, I did that math. It's 240 feet. Is that definitive or do we?
Well, it meets and bounds on the deed. What do they say?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Check.
so if the meets and bounds, it's 239 feet. Something.
Okay, problem.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Then what you do is you go to the Board of Appeals and get a zoning variance for the 1 foot, and then you come back here for our frontage lot.
But can ask, if it was wrong, could we then use the reduced frontage bylaw? I mean, if it was right.
It's 239.5 is plus or minus 6 inches. So 240 plus or minus 6 is what they put down. Simple. It's, we gotta stop somewhere, so I think it's 6 inches, 6 inches over and under. So they can put a plus or minus and 6 number.
My guess is the 241's taking right from
Looks likely.
meets and bounds.
Yes. Looks like this is uphill.
They were updated recently.
Tom, or, the chair,
Those plans.
in this provision, and which is under approval. Special permits shall be granted by the planning board plus specific criteria herein only
Well, that's.
upon a written determination of the benefits of the town, to the town and the neighborhood will outweigh the adverse impacts. And then specific finding that planning board may grant special permit, may grant by special permit the right to build on a large parcel that has insufficient frontage by, but this doesn't have insufficient frontage, right? Because currently,
It's conformed, it's a legal lot, so it goes to the bottom one.
yeah, okay, thought I found a way.
Well, the good news is, we have to have this grant wrapped up by next fiscal year, by June of 26, so we have time to figure this all out.
So it's a question of whether the easement would
Satisfy the state.
satisfy.
Satisfy, that's one. We have
There
to
has to be a right of way, go for the right of way, go higher on the chart. as far as access, ability to access with the right of way, you can clear and do things within your right.
I
No,
have to talk to Marcelo, we may name a parking system,
Mm.
one or two. parts.
How much is this day grant for?
But the, Vanessa, the state grant administrator is really zoomed in on access.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, which is good.
I would be-
And does it include parking? I mean, I know that they like the parking too.
and I do have a lot of autumn berry trees if you want to plant them on the side.
The grant was 200,000,
Right.
because we figured,
It's a little
Meta
more.
Comet figured they'd raise the other two.
That's across the street from that.
I live across.
You're across the street from that. Oh, okay, that's what you're saying. You could offer parking.
Yeah, we actually, right almost directly across the street on our property is the vestiges of an old cart road that leads. Our house is a quarter of a mile, so from my perspective, parking there is.
Actually, I went there once to pick up for a scout project. So yeah, you're deep in there.
Because I'd really like this to happen, and I don't feel comfortable voting against something I want. So if you can possibly get this just approved as a lot first, the easement right away on it, and then come back to us, I don't even know if you come back to us at that point.
Might not need to. The only thing you might want to do is, I don't even want, is combine the other two lots. into-
Engineer can do that. Land surveyor. Actually, an engineer can do it if it's the same surveyor as the surveyor surveys property. This changes to the same property. The professional registered engineer can actually do the changes. Surveyor can still sign it because he did the original, did the tracing all the way back and all of the legal stuff as to the ownership. So if it, sometimes it just takes a professional engineer.
Well, thank you very much. It's been.
All right, let us know if we can help.
That's not a topic.
Might work if you can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please, large lot frontage on Mechanic Street.
Before we start on this side, I do have a question. To take a vote on this, you have to have a majority, correct? Which is 3 people.
On a special permit.
Is your question through the chair on the 47 Mechanic Street?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you need 4 votes, for a special permit, but you are not opening a public hearing tonight.
Well, my question is Margaret, since she's not here tonight,
Mhm.
is she going to be eligible to vote on something that's not?
Well, that's a good question, but that's why I was saying you're not opening a public hearing tonight. You are receiving, as a part of what you
Okay,
traditionally do as a board, when you have a new filing, you receive the application, which is in your packet, and determine that it's complete, the fee has been paid, which it has, $105 submitted.
The applicant isn't here, Margaret will be here and she can ask questions, read the
so
minutes.
even if Margaret doesn't participate in this, she can participate in the future.
When there's a public hearing.
Okay,
And so tonight, again, through the chair, you'll determine, again, that the application, the filing is complete. You typically will give an opinion as to whether or not you think peer review is warranted, and you would schedule a public hearing. We do have, if there's questions about what was submitted, without getting into too much conversation about the merits of the application itself, we have Rob Knappett from Allen Engineering, as well as the applicant, Amy Miller.
All right, so where's the,
You should have, and Rob was kind enough to submit a annotated map
And others, so.
yeah, thank you.
in color, yeah. So you have a concept subdivision that was submitted, as well as the large lot frontage plan.
okay, so we got one large lot frontage?
2.
We can't do 2 from the same, can we?
I believe so. We'll double check the
Yeah.
bylaw.
The whole idea was to never do this, to never take a conforming lot and make 2 large lot frontages. That's something specifically, we said no on. Fine.
I'll double check the bylaw on that.
The original ones.
There's no houses anywhere in this already?
There's an existing house.
There would be 3 houses on it, the existing house.
Well, that, is it a conforming parcel or over the home? I can't remember, no, which ones you render it
No, it
non-conforming?
won't be non, because
It will conform.
180 is fine, right?
Yes.
So it's got 180. This is the existing, and it's got 180. Then there's the 2 other frontages proposed.
But you have to access your frontage, you access your lot through your frontage.
No, not from the frontage for the house. The
The
house,
parcel shall be accessed from its frontage only. You can't access this parcel here.
well, the house will be,
Let's see what the house is. You can't access this parcel without coming from your frontage. This house has to be accessed from here. That's what it says.
okay, I'm confused. Can you show me this?
I'm sure.
Talk very slowly.
B, C, C, is it C? It's E. E,
Yeah,
and what?
yeah, no, I'm familiar with the bylaw,
Well, then,
but I think she has about 300 feet of frontage, roughly.
then use the frontage for this parcel to access the parcel. I don't care how much
She
land,
is.
front, you access the parcel through the frontage.
So you can't share the driveway?
Want to share the driveway, then it's a common driveway. And it has to be, probably need a zoning board of appeals permit, waiver of accessing through your frontage.
I think, well,
They'd have to waive the access through the frontage. It would have to be a zoning board of waiver.
through the, yeah.
If you're not accessing your property through your frontage, it's a zoning board of appeals waiver. And their justification is they're doing a common driveway on the one next door.
Mhm.
I don't think it's legal, but that's up to the ZBA to determine. And then we would hold a special permit site plan review on this proposal with the zoning board of approval that they can actually use another lot to access there.
So, through the chair, if I could, so while I brought up the bylaw here, just a question about 1 or 2 lots you have, it says, and this is under the other conditions that we were talking about earlier, specific criteria.
It's only 2, so they're good there, right?
No more than 2 large lot frontage should be created from any parcel.
Yeah.
So I read that as being allowed to proceed with something like this.
But is this a conforming lot?
Yes, in my review of it, it is that third lot that is being left there with the house, existing house on it, I believe is conforming. It has 180 feet of frontage and I believe the required acreage. for
And then the
lot
frontage next to it is also a conforming lot now. So you'd be making 2 non-conforming lots out of.
But you can't take a conforming lot
Yeah.
and make 2 large lot frontages out of it, can you?
My interpretation is that's what.
Parcel, that's a parcel. This is a lot, not a parcel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Totally different meaning for me. If you got a parcel, it's $50. If you want, it's $100. Totally different application.
What's the definition between parcel and lot?
Lot has a house on it or can hold a house. Parcel cannot hold a house.
That says parcel already developed with a home on it.
And next one down says no more than 2 lots from any parcel. That's a lot. It meets, it's a conforming lot. We try to make conforming lots into 2. It's 1, make it 2.
Well,
Yeah.
again, through the chair, I mean, we can, without getting too much into the merits of the application, does the board want to give an opinion as to whether or not it's been appropriately filed before you for consideration? You have the application's been submitted. I have the abutters. A list has been generated. The fee has been submitted.
They can do whatever they want. I'm not telling them to or not. I'm
Yeah.
telling them that my vote would be no. They need 4 votes. We have one that can't
Mhm.
vote on this one. Think about it. Talk, there may be a way to do this, but I can't say that you have to access your lot through your frontage. Simple, plain. So come in, at least do that. If they present this,
Mhm.
it's a clear no, because they're not accessing, it's a zoning division. Not meeting zoning.
Mhm.
If they can find a way to put that there, then
I mean, I think these are all helpful comments for the applicant to consider.
what about grades? What about slopes?
That would have to be considered with regard to a common driveway if they were to proceed with a special permit for that, because that's a requirement. for common driveway.
Yes, so if they got a zoning board of appeals variance to not access their property through their frontage,
Right.
and they were going to use a common driveway,
Mhm.
that's gonna be a review on common driveway standards.
Yes.
Grades, vote, width, setback.
I can tell you this area right here is about 6 feet high of ledge. So it's not an easy task.
I'd ask them to talk to you more, look at it some more, you know how we feel, right? Is any other comments or questions? Good. Right now, I would say they don't meet zoning.
Okay.
I could be outvoted, but if that was appealed, we'd lose. If it was appealed, they'd ask why a planning board approved a zoning issue.
Well, with regard to the application, you have an application filed before you, yeah, which starts the clock on holding a public hearing.
You can let them know, what's the schedule of the public hearing? Is there a?
What would they're on,
You would have to schedule, but
they are on the call, would they prefer to talk to you again first, and then, I mean, it's sort of their call.
Because if it's a filing tonight, we have filing fees.
yes,
We'll pick an engineer, we'll set a date. We'll hold a public hearing, notify the abutters and hold a public hearing.
we need to, the large lot frontage, or filing a special permit there's no associated fee with submitting, for peer review, so you have to negotiate that. So you have to get those fees. I mean, there's the provision, and I believe that within that bylaw, there is the provision that you can request.
What's the filing fee for this?
Just a special permit is $105.
So who
Two.
pays for peer review?
Per lot or just for
Okay,
one?
so I thought-
Per lot or for one?
That was for the application.
One application for two lots.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Let's hear from them if they'd like to speak. Is anybody on the line that would like to yell at me for what I said?
No, thank you all for working very hard. I'll let Rob go first.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Rob Knappert from Allen Engineering, and as you see with me is the applicant and the landowner, Amy Meller. And obviously, this is an application for a large lot frontage reduction. And I understand the issues that you raised, and I understand tonight that the matters are largely procedural, receiving the application, determining whether peer review is necessary, and scheduling a public hearing. I understand that you're not necessarily going to embark on a discussion of the merits. However, to the extent you did, I just want to quickly address a couple of things. We do understand the terms of the bylaw regarding access, and we are prepared to either request a waiver from this board of that requirement, which I think you're authorized to do, or if deemed necessary, then a variance for the zoning board. And the rationale is what was mentioned. There's the difficulty in accessing lot one through its actual frontage because of the presence of ledge. In addition, there's a benefit to this single access, given that your bylaw does allow common driveways. And that benefit is that there would be one less curb cut on Mechanic Street. So we're prepared, obviously, to discuss that in more detail with you when the public hearing is scheduled. But that, in a nutshell, is the issue. And we do understand also that in addition to the large lot frontage reduction special permit, either with a waiver of that requirement or coupled with a variance, that we also need a common driveway special permit under other provisions of your bylaws. So we do understand all that. We do also understand that this is the beginning of a process which involves both zoning matters, planning matters, and environmental matters. But we are taking a sort of a one step at a time approach. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. If Amy has anything to add, then I'll ask her to do so. If not, I'm prepared to answer any questions you have at this time. And if you don't, then look forward to the public hearing.
Right, because, thank you very much, because even if you file this, if we hold the public hearing and there's an issue, we can always continue the public hearing.
Exactly.
You know, keep it open and continue it. The thing is, it usually runs, the more time runs into more money. And so I did want to warn you ahead of time that I don't think any planning board has the authority to waive the zoning requirement.
Can I
We've
just, I am a little naive, but and I've been trying to learn as much as I can about your process and very sensitive to the land there and a blind corner and other things. But I thought that the 2-lot maximum was from the piece we were carving off, the fact that the existing 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom house is going to become a conforming lot, then we're asking for 2 lots on that other parcel.
We're good so far.
But that's not how you're reading it, though. Am I correct?
No, everything's fine, but each one of those additional lots that are cut out has
Right.
to be accessed. It doesn't say anything that you can use a common driveway. We have no guidance, and it's very specific that each lot must access its own frontage.
As
so
it
you
shows
include-
on the conceptual plan.
Right, so you either need 2 driveways or it's a zoning variance, which we
Understood.
don't.
Thank you.
Zoning board of appeals grants those, we don't. We just have to say it's against the rules.
Yeah.
We can't approve.
Gotcha. Well, you have to start the process someplace. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
More questions for me?
Bill?
No.
Is there anything else from us, or you'll be dealing with, Rob, dealing with Mike on this application? He'll let us know?
Yes.
And we will schedule a public hearing for, pick a date.
24th? Yeah, it would have to be as early as the 24th.
When is Margaret going to be back?
I've not heard from her.
Because her vote is going to be necessary.
Well, you'll have Charlie here as well.
And Charlie can vote on this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not just permits, just like things, I thought.
no, I think, he can, this is a special permit. I thought
I thought he was one of the, can he do a site plan and a special permit?
I'm pretty sure it's only special permits. Let me double check.
But he can't approve, but we can approve the special permit, but it's also a site,
This is not.
just a special.
Yeah, this is just a special permit.
Could I ask a question on that, in that regard, very quickly? I just want to be crystal clear and make sure I understand. I think I followed your discussion, but correct me if I'm wrong. You're a 5-member board. You don't have any alternates. And for purposes of this application, one of your 5 members must recuse themselves, so you're reduced to 4 members. Is that all?
You missed
correct?
by one. We have a special, what do you call them? Alternate.
Alternate, yeah.
We have an alternate, so there would still be 5 members of the board.
Oh, great. Thank you.
And to be eligible to vote, my understanding is you just need to be present for all public hearings. Tonight is not technically a public hearing. You've not opened a public hearing.
That's my understanding as well.
So the 24th of June, is that what I'm?
Well, I'm just wondering if Margaret's going to be here because she was originally said she was going away on June 2nd. She was traveling out of the country.
My suggestion would be to schedule it.
Okay.
And if for some reason you don't have a quorum available, even a quorum, let's say you only have 4 eligible members to vote for the beginning of the public hearing.
That's not fair to them.
Yeah, I would say you still want to be scheduled for the 24th, but you can throw it to the applicant, hey, better off starting with 5.
That's that continuation. We can always
Yes.
continue it if this is.
You can always-
Just before we continue, for full disclosure, I probably will also be recusing myself, as my last name is Robertson, and I am not a butter, but that is my parents' land right next. And so even though I'm not in a butter, I think it would be a little bit awkward for me to, to vote on this. So, so you're down really you're down to,
I
I didn't know.
understand.
no, I talked to Mike about it. I don't have to recuse myself,
Associate X on special.
but I think it,
I'd
Probably.
love to walk it with you and show you how I'm staying totally away from your family's
oh, no,
property.
no, and
On
that
purpose-
is
No,
not the
just to
issue.
preserve for everyone, because it's
Yeah.
such a beautiful spot.
No,
and
that is,
my- Yeah.
that is not the issue at all.
I know, and my
quite
family
frankly,
intends to own all this, so.
Yeah,
Um,
it isn't, that's not the issue at all.
Yeah.
I just,
I get it, but I don't know that how you can have a vote then.
Well, what I would ask is that we contact our legal and see if what I'm saying, if I'm reading these bylaws correctly, just to make sure that you do have to access your frontage. We can't waive it, that it has to go to the zoning board. I'd like to get that validated, make sure that that's correct.
Yeah, Tom, I'll take an extra close look at those particular items. If I feel that there's something I need clarification from town council with, I'll certainly reach out and include you.
And the reason we did large lot frontage years ago was to maintain the property values of people around you, not have subdivisions, not have little roads that we had to maintain, but one house back in the middle of the nowhere, 3 times the square footage of a normal lot. So it's supposed to be a good thing for the neighborhood. But zoning, we got to get around.
I
Understood.
do understand and the potential of what could happen on that little front piece to the neighborhood, I don't want to happen either. So, let's hope we can work our way through.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me find out that June 24th, 7:05, we have a public hearing, so.
7:50.
we have to-
yeah, I think Margaret may have said she could do that. I think she was back. That's, East Street Estates, right?
All right, it says receive application, determine if peer review will be necessary.
Say, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
At least he knows he's not the only one with a large lot frontage to get pounded.
Yeah, I'm still getting confused about the conforming lot and two non-conforming lots. We're not talking about it now, but I'm still confused about how that works.
It was an attempt to limit people, just everybody take
Oh, I understand that.
200
This
feet,
is a-
make 2 houses out.
This is a conforming lot.
So you shouldn't be able to take a conforming lot and make, what frontage? It's,
That's where I'm getting,
so that's why you take a large lot frontage, it's got an easement.
so that's why I'm getting confused with it.
Yeah, we probably should say, no, I don't think we can do that.
I did,
That one is a lot more clear cut as far as being.
well,
And
that's
that's
clear small. Yeah, this one is, you got lots of wiggle.
a peer review for that one. Comments peer review. Does it rise to the standard of a peer review level?
What, this one here?
So,
Well, Concom has to get involved.
I would suggest the board, you may want a peer review if it requires getting a common driveway special permit, because will then require a lot more engineering, right?
Absolutely.
So,
So does this application require, it does.
yes,
So yes, absolutely get a peer review on the comment. And the floors.
yeah, if they intend on proceeding with the common driveway, do you want
it's
to?
got something about Giselle Bunchkin's new
Oh,
baby.
I was hovering over this, I'm sure.
I know.
What are we doing on that one?
If there's a common driveway in the end, we need a peer review,
Yes,
right?
We see it, so they haven't submitted it yet. Have they submitted all the plans to you?
These are the plans for the large lot frontage reduction. They have not submitted as Rob's still on, but the
Engineering for the common drive.
That's
an
right.
engineering.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can clarify if I may. So the intent, as I alluded, is to approach this in sort of a stepwise fashion for reasons related to mostly economy, to be quite frank. And I think it's fair to say that the permit with the most sort of discretion is the large lot frontage reduction permit. And so the process would be that if that is granted, with the now understanding that maybe you can grant a waiver of strict compliance for not accessing through the frontage, maybe a variance is required. But either way, first large lot frontage reduction, then common driveway special permit. And as you've suggested, it's that common driveway special permit that requires.
All right, I was unaware that you did not submit any engineering for a common driveway, hundreds of feet long, with all that. This is an incomplete filing. If you did not submit an engineering plan or design for the common driveway, it's an incomplete filing, and I wouldn't schedule a public hearing for it.
Well,
Tom, they haven't applied for the common driveway.
It's on the plan that there are filing.
Okay.
It's on the plan.
Mhm.
Where's the engineering to match the plan?
I would say you'd have grounds, well, then I'm getting into discussion.
Well, then it would be, again, then I would immediately, I'd open and close the meeting and deny it because you failed to submit adequate engineering plans to justify your design.
Well, I appreciate that. However, I would ask you to consider that the common driveway special permit is a special permit. So, clearly we didn't apply for that. Now, we did show the common driveway on the plan, but frankly, it was more of a courtesy. If it would resolve the matter, at least for now,
Courtesy? You think
we
it's courtesy?
we could
But
take the
access?
common driveway off of the
Access,
plan.
sir, access is not a courtesy. It's a requirement. You're not being courteous by showing us a common driveway. You're being against the bylaws by not showing access to both lots.
Through the chair, let me ask a question. If the plans were revamped to strike any access information, would that meet the requirement where they could get that they could open a public hearing for approval of the large lot frontage reduction, or do they need to show the access in order to?
To the buildable area. Now, we had this argument 3 weeks ago
Yeah.
where they have to show access to the buildable portion, the construction portion, where they're putting the house. So yes, you would have to show access from the roadway, access from frontage to the buildable portion of the lot.
That's
That is fair.
that's right.
And I just brought up the regulations under application, site plan, this is for submittal requirements. Site plan shall conform to the latest A&R MGL 4181P drawing requirements, which has the access requirements that you're discussing.
Okay,
So you would, yes, you'd want that. Show the access.
okay.
But to seek a large lot frontage reduction, they could show the access through the frontage of the lot
Yes,
and then seek a special
yes,
permit for a shared drive.
yes. They could, yeah, to clarify, they,
But the
yeah. go ahead.
both driveways would have to be approvable. In other words, you can't have a big pile of rock here or a pond and say that this is where I'm coming in. You have to actually be able to get in there. You can't, you have you can't put driveways as a certain driveway requirements for
Yes.
slopes and
But
grades and.
yes and no.
There's one.
You have, your common driveway requirements have those grading requirements. You do not have general requirements for all driveways within your bylaw.
That's great, but if we're approving a large lot frontage reduction and it needs to show access,
Adequate.
adequate access, that would mean that you would have to show that the access was adequate, which would go to Tom's point about having some
Yeah.
engineering.
Well, that's what I was getting to because with the A&R, you specifically call out has to conform with A&R requirements for submitting the site plan. A&R requirements require you to show access through your subdivision rules and regulations that shows submitting a driveway profile, which that you did submit here for you, which that's existing, but for the proposed, you would want it as well, right? But you then don't have a specific litmus test for the grading of the proposed driveway.
Then that's not a, then we don't have to worry about that. All we have to consider is that you have access to the area that's, and if they show the line, it goes all the way through.
Yeah.
And then it goes to conservation, and conservation says, no, you can't go through the swamp.
Exactly.
Then,
Yeah, so well, my point is, they could show a 6% grade, they could show a 5% grade,
Agreed.
and you couldn't necessarily deny them based on a 6% versus a 5% because you don't have the rules in place to govern that.
Right.
But within context of the rest, and just like what Elsie were saying,
and that all would go away, because you come in with a common driveway, which would have slope width
yes,
and length standards,
exactly.
construction standards. So that would be another, that would be in the site plan. With a special.
There's still no site plan, so it's a special permit. Special permit.
And you're saying that we would need that for the special permit to make sure that the lot is accessible.
Yes.
So in order to schedule the public hearing,
Yeah, access and utilities. What else do we do?
Okay.
Access and meet zoning. Those are the three things we
Yeah.
do.
So you're saying they should redo this plan with a driveway drawn in there,
Well, it sounds like, if I may,
and then later see if they
Well,
need to,
if-
can get a permit.
Excellent, because if you're presenting this, it shows a common driveway. You need to show the layout and construction of the common driveway that's on the plans that we're gonna design.
Engineer.
All right, so you take that off. Now you need a driveway here and a driveway there, one shown to the house and the other one shown to the other house.
Right, which can change
Okay.
if they get permit for it.
Even if conservation says, no, you can't do that, they can still put it down there and it's
Right.
it's okay. But then they come in the back end with a common driveway, start all over again, and it needs to be engineered. And reviewed.
but if I may.
That makes sense?
Do you want to? Because you still have an application before you for a large lot, right? That you should schedule a public hearing for, even if it's to open it and deny it immediately and then
Agreed.
close it. But why don't we do this? Why don't you request that in the meantime, they file a special permit for the common driveway? Because it seems like that's the intention anyway. That would be
Tom said
recommendation.
it's not a complete filing because it doesn't have the engineering.
You've got something on,
The laws.
yeah, you've got something on the submitted plans without engineering backup at all.
Yeah,
That's an
Okay.
incomplete file.
yeah,
As it,
sure.
what's this? No, no.
That's fair. Okay.
But they also can't take it off because it has to show.
So, okay, so we're not scheduling a public hearing as of this date because the filing is determined as incomplete by this board because it doesn't show the access to one of the lots.
Can I interject? Could I try
Well,
to,
hold on, but look, you've got a choice, I guess. What would your choice be, to us to not accept your filing or to wait till the meeting and
Well-
take a chance?
based on what you said, let me propose a third alternative. You've said that the large lot requirements are that it has to satisfy the A&R requirements of adequate access, adequate frontage. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to show the driveway. So could we not simply revise the plan to remove the common driveway, apply for the large lot frontage reduction as shown, not show any driveways? And I know this has been done before. You would then make a determination that Mechanic Street is an
I don't
adequate
want,
way, that
stop, please. I
access to
don't
the
want to play
large
games
lots
with
is
you.
adequate. And then we would apply for after that, we would apply for the waiver or variance and then the common driveway special permit, if it's necessary. Maybe the applicant decides it's not worth it and simply access the lots through the frontage. Does that make sense?
No, you're not doing very well. You have to show access from the road to the area of construction. So you're
But
gonna
not a
show,
driveway. There's no requirement in the bylaw that says you need to show a driveway.
put a dotted line. Means that you're gonna put a driveway there. Put a dotted line, a solid line from the access to the development area. That's all you need to do. You don't have to put the grades, you don't have to put, but just show where you're coming in and where you're going to.
Excuse me, do you not have a plan that shows where these driveways are?
No, the plan that I
What?
have shows no access for the
Oh.
lot on the left.
Okay,
It shows a common driveway on the lot on the right, but we have no plans or any engineering to show that a common driveway could be put there. We don't know that a common driveway can go up this and all around until we have the engineering to prove it and reviewed. So there's,
yeah.
does that make sense?
No, I know what you're saying. It's just that.
Well, the reason you don't have that is because it's not a common driveway special permit application.
What is it? What am I looking at? I'm looking at a common driveway, isn't I? I'm looking at a driveway that goes to two houses.
because we
Right,
needed
to illustrate that a
To me,
common
that's a
driveway
common-
special
All
permit
right,
is
all right.
required.
I'm not gonna play with you. This is incomplete. I would recommend that the board reject this filing as incomplete. Do I have a motion to reject this filing as incomplete due to no access shown on the first lot, no engineering support to justify a common driveway?
So what you're saying then is that the common driveway that's shown on this that goes to both does not constitute access, that you need access per the bylaws from the road
It's
to
access to
the.
this.
Is that an acceptable common driveway? We don't have any engineering, we don't have any construction plans, we don't have any cross-section. We have to have a cross-section for the engineer to review to make sure they have the depth, the pavement, the width.
And is that relevant to whether or not you do a large lot? Because you can do the large lot frontage reduction, correct?
To me, it's both access. You gotta pick one of the ways of access. If you're gonna access this house on a plan with a frontage front, you need access each lot.
And you can't do that after you get approval for the large lot frontage reduction. Because if you don't know you have,
Then I'm signing off on this plan, which shows access that I know nothing about. I have
But
no,
you're not, with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, even if you approve the large lot frontage reduction lot, you're not approving a special, you're not approving a common driveway because that's not before you. You agree?
no. You have an incomplete filing. You have a common driveway with no engineering backup. You have a lot that is not accessing through its frontage. How much plainer can it be?
okay, when you do a large lot with frontage reduction, do you need to show where the access goes in? Or is that something you can do?
Every dwelling needs to be accessed through its frontage, and that we're supposed to make sure you get access to your dwelling. And
Okay, this is,
that you're not going through a river, you're not going over.
No, well,
You know,
this
you
is
don't-
going through the existing driveway cut. That's,
hold on 1 second. If you're doing the large lot frontage reduction, does that mean necessarily that you are going to be building on both of these? Because you can get the approval, and then if you can't put the driveways in, then you're not gonna be able to build on it. And the risk they would be taking.
It's a risk, but that's what I'm trying to prevent. I'm trying to prevent them from starting and then not being able to finish. I'd like to, large lot frontages are great, but we can't do something for them that we would never do for anybody else. And I would never approve a lot that doesn't have access through its frontage.
But if
We can't do that.
if they resubmit this drawing without that driveway and just draw a line to this and draw a line to that, then it's fine,
Sure,
right?
sure,
That's all that needs to be done.
for us.
Right.
Right,
For
for then,
them.
then you go to try and build it that way, then you gotta come back.
Well, after that, they might need to ask for a special permit to be able to do this.
That's fine.
And
And a
let-
zoning variance,
What's that?
and a zoning variance.
And there's no-
and let me ask another question. If they do the dotted line from Mechanic Street to the frontage, will they have room? And I guess this is meant for you, Brooke. Would there be room towards, I am challenged when it comes to north and south,
Mhm.
going down Mechanic Street away from Ken's
To the
house.
north.
Is there room to the north for a separate, is there your 70 feet there?
And the one thing we shouldn't be doing is
There
design.
is between the house, between the one neighbor and neighbor.
It only widens out after that.
Yeah, I would like to, as much as we can, not design it for them, simply review what they've submitted. And what they've submitted is incomplete. There's no justification for us to approve this driveway proposal as presented.
But if
We
I
don't
heard
have-
you, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, you did agree that if we remove that, if we showed access through the frontage to both large lot frontage reductions, then that is something the board could act upon, correct? I thought I heard you say that. You all agree to that. If we simply
Yes.
revise the plan to, okay, understood. I think that's perhaps the path of least resistance then.
And I suppose you don't want the planning board to look like you're just trying to fool us, because you're not really gonna be doing that. You've given us a plan that we know isn't gonna be dealt with, but if it's legal, it's legal.
I mean, there's no attempt to fool anybody. We're just, as I said, trying to take the most economical path. And if that is in a stepwise fashion, and if that means submitting a plan showing access to both, assessing.
How is it economical?
Assessing-
How is it economical to do it 2 steps as opposed to 1 step with this and with engineering? In other words, this plan with the engineering backup that this road could be constructed, the driveway could be constructed as designed, and do it once.
Well,
rather
because
than-
the engineering backup, as you put it, is a substantial investment. And I don't believe the client understandably would want to make that substantial investment until they at least know that they do have the large lot frontage reduction lots. At that point, the benefit to them is, well, if the common driveway special permit is denied, or if perhaps it's deemed, too much work, then we will access, she can access the lots through the frontage. She's at least left with that. So in answer to your question, I understand that for the board's purposes, it might be neat and clean, that you receive it all in one package, but for the client's purposes, for reasons related primarily to economy, that engineering of those common driveways, given that it has to comply, as I understand it, with the subdivision requirements, is a substantial investment. So we would respectfully ask if you would, entertain the application in that sort of stepwise fashion.
That way you would meet zoning and we would be able to sign it. There wouldn't be any zoning waivers needed.
Exactly.
Tom, and I would suggest, if I may, I mean, that follows the linear logic of submitting a conventional subdivision, proving that they could otherwise conform to subdivision rules and regulations, which makes an applicant, gives the applicant the ability to apply for a large lot frontage reduction, whereas you'd be requiring them to show that they can comply with the access requirements, whether it's through A&R.
So they need to provide to you that each one of these could be subdivided into a subdivision, not the 2 of them together. Each large lot frontage
Yes.
stands on its own with that subdivision. Read it again. That requires each one of these has to stand on its own. It can't be added together and considered a subdivision. This lot right here has to be proven that you could subdivide this
Yes.
before we approve this one.
Yes.
This one you have to have 3 times the thing and all the things.
Right.
So there's 2 subdivisions that would go in here. You have to show 2 subdivisions, 1 for each lot.
Okay.
Does that make
I
sense?
mean, I don't know whether it makes sense. What part of the bylaw does that refer to, I guess would be the question. Where in the bylaw does it say that? I'm not even sure the bylaw requires the conceptual subdivision plan, so.
Yes.
If you want to read it to them, or
No, I don't have, I talked to the applicant.
the planning board may grant by special permit the right to build on a large parcel that has insufficient frontage by right to build on, but is large enough to create an alternative potential subdivision. Each one, not both of them together, each one of those, you have to prove that each one of these could be subdivided. 2 or more,
80 to there.
with a 50-foot wide roadway,
About 70 here.
50-foot
Can't
taking,
have the 180
50-foot right of way, 26-foot wide road in the middle.
vertical driveways
You can
straight
get to
to.
both
What
and build 2 lots on each property.
is that you have to have it to the frontage of the place. building.
Makes sense, Mike?
Huh?
That's how I've read it for years.
Yeah.
Each lot, if you build a large lot frontage.
That makes sense. I just didn't realize that that was the interpretation of it.
Yeah, but if you just.
Well, we did it before, the last one. We have to prove that each one would stand on its own.
Well, the last one was a huge subdivision that was originally approved. That was what was, so that was easier to navigate, you know what I mean? That was like a 40 lot or something, like ridiculously high yield of lots.
And each one of these is a separate process, right? Don't we have to have, this is actually two special permits? Don't we have to do these one at a time? Didn't we do it the last time? We had to do two special permits?
You did,
We did a vote twice.
you did require that.
So this one required two votes. It requires two different backups that each one could be subdivided. Each one needs access, the usual.
Just another challenge. This is. Okay, the way that I'm looking at this map. I had another meeting before this, so my brain is a little bit foggy, so I'm sorry if I keep fogging out here. If we're talking about the paper, basically the paper road to reach each site, you have to have the 70 foot for each one, correct?
Yep.
That means I think you're gonna have to move the frontage from the main house, the existing house, down further, which means you're probably gonna have to readjust that other driveway if I'm reading this correctly. Because you're gonna have to have 70 feet between the next property and the house itself. And then you're gonna have to have the 180 for the conforming, or the 100 and, how much is conforming, 180?
180.
180 for the conforming, and then you're gonna have to have the other, frontage that leads to the other place. So that's probably all gonna have to be redone, and I understand what we're talking about, but I understand the first step just seems to be whether or not they can set up the large lot frontage lots.
Yeah, if I may, just a couple of quick things. I appreciate all your time on this. The application requires documentation that the lot can be developed as a conventional subdivision, including a schematic site plan. So I assume that the lot means the parcel being divided, not each large lot frontage reduction plan. In addition, I think the board has some latitude under 307.5 F to A. There's the following. The planning board may grant a large lot frontage reduction special permit, even if the possibility of an alternative potential subdivision does not exist, provided there is a finding that granting said permit is in the best interest of the town. So with all due respect, I don't read the bylaw to require that each large lot frontage reduction lot has to be shown to support its own conventional subdivision, but rather that the parcel as a whole be shown, has to be shown.
Let me read something to you, sir. It says the planning board may weigh other factors, like if the large lot is adjacent to an existing large lot frontage, which is generally discouraged. I will discourage you from building two adjacent large lot frontages. I am
Well, that's a whole
supposed to.
separate issue, isn't it?
I put it in the laws years ago. I am here to discourage you from putting two adjacent large lot frontage. You will go right ahead. You have the right, you go right ahead and do it. But I am discouraging you from putting two large lot frontages side by side and presenting them to this board.
You'd rather have a subdivision.
Or just one.
So I think from the perspective of the filing, and Tom, I think you're getting into more the merits of the application and what the board may or may not require for evaluation of approving a special permit or two special permits. But with regard to the filing and what's in that's maybe helpful information for the applicant to consider to whether or not to proceed or how to proceed. But with regard to the filing, what this board would consider a complete filing in order to entertain a special permit, you would want to show, what is typically shown on A&R plans that are submitted to this board, a center line of a driveway accessing each proposed lot on the frontage and the profile of that driveway. And that would be acceptable for a revision of this plan to show the any and all lots that are shown in this plan that has frontage, that driveway access.
And it behooves me to tell the applicant that even though you're doing, I am going to discourage you from expecting me to waive anything.
Right.
Right, you're gonna have to beat the bylaws if you're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Because we don't, but this is not the way we set up large lot frontages. We set them up for one in a special case. We didn't use them as a building tool to put them everywhere.
I think that's a fair comment. You do not want to set the expectation that applicants can come to the board expecting a waiver of some.
We're discouraged,
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
discouraging that.
It's not, you're not necessarily given an opinion that a
I'm
waiver will not be granted or an application will not be considered.
reading the text
I
of
understand.
the zoning.
I know, I'm trying.
I'm just reading what it says in my zoning book, the TR to discourage
Yes.
adjacent large lot frontage. That's,
I don't mean to be picky, but I honestly don't see that. Could you tell me the specific section?
okay, that would be. Be number 2. Number 2 in the middle is a large, just above the specific criteria. Specific criteria is 3. If you read the paragraph above that,
So the same one you were reading from, Rob.
So that's 300-75, there's A, B, C, D, E, F. Which of those?
F2A, right?
well, it doesn't have an A, it's just,
Oh, just 2. Special permit shall be granted by the planning board unless otherwise specified herein only upon a written determination of benefits of the,
Right, okay, understood.
taking into account the characteristics of the site of the proposal in relation to that site.
yeah, and again, you have the total right to convince me that I'm wrong and that this is in the best interest of the town.
Okay,
That would be your position. And
Yes, sir.
my
Yes.
position is that I'm supposed to discourage it, that it's not supposed to be done normally. But if you can come up with a reason why we should waive this, that it's in the best interest of the town to do that, then the planning board would have the right to waive it.
Just a question, the best interest of the town, could that also be established by an easement along the brook for trails? Is that a benefit to the town?
If
Because I do know that Mike Penco had been, that was a consideration at one point to connect the trails. to-
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
Special permits are
that would be an asset to the town.
Special permits or what?
Sorry to answer. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say special permits are discretionary, so with regard to any special permit really that comes before this, with the exception of a few, you have the ability to add conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, Tommy, and I did leave for a minute. I don't have a problem scheduling a public hearing. I think without having, I mean, I understand where the applicant is coming from and cost of doing a detailed engineering study of a road that may never be built is pretty, you know, it's a lot and it takes a long, long time. And then you also have the issue, as you said, if you're putting in like fake driveways that you're never gonna use, that's a little bit disingenuous. It's a exercise that's gonna require shifting the frontage, I think, if I'm correct, probably tell me if I'm wrong, along that whole stretch. You know, I think, you know,
I think there's ledge on
Where
the
the-
other side too, though.
huh?
I think there's ledge on both.
Yeah,
sides.
yeah, but we're not, I guess we don't do engineering if we're just doing the fake driveways, because they're feeding directly into the lot that we're dividing them into.
Get rid of ledge.
And I just think that this is,
Well, we also do, if there's no future changes after you do this, you can't make any more changes to it, further divide it. You can't use the access road for anything but access to the house. In other words, you can't keep going out into the woods. But isn't there, a thing that we have to follow, that there can't be any changes after it's approved? So if we did approve the 2 lots with just the thing, and they came back in with a common driveway, would that be allowed? Would that,
That's a good question. I mean, I'm aware of the part of the bylaw that says, there can't be any changes with regard to further subdivision. But, it would, that change, I'm not so sure. I feel like that would be acceptable unless that was specifically prohibited somewhere in the bylaw, which we've been combing through it tonight. I certainly didn't see that.
And isn't that something that could be raised in the special hearing, and that could be a requirement of approval, is if you do engineering studies for,
And an applicant can always come back with a new special
Yeah.
permit.
yeah, you don't get a building permit without showing access to your property.
oh, we're not talking building, we're talking special.
But the next step after us is a building permit. So what we're putting down here goes to the building inspector.
But if you have a public hearing, that's where you can air all the stuff and discuss engineering and discuss what else we need before just because we have the
So-
public hearing doesn't mean we're signing it.
All right, so let's say we go through the public hearing and everything's fine, we approve this without the common driveway. You can't go to the building inspector and without having a driveway.
But we wouldn't approve it without having the details. It's just the first step. It's like,
Well, it also needs to come back with the A&R plan.
Yeah.
That conforms to this special permit, right?
and then we can discuss other public betterments and, and just raise them as something that can be considered or rejected. Or that just seems, rather than today saying, no, we're not going to let it go to the next step.
Mhm.
It makes sense that we let it go to the next step, and then we deal with all the stuff, and, at that point.
My question to the board is, how do you want to proceed procedurally? Which is, do you want to hold off on accepting this plan as being a complete
Oh, yeah.
filing? Or do you want to go and wait for the applicant to resubmit a plan showing the driveway access to each lot that's shown? Or do you want to schedule a public hearing and highly suggest that they come to the public hearing with that each driveway shown as the schedule?
Problem is when you send out the butters notices,
Mhm.
there's no changes after that. When the butters get their information,
Mhm.
then they go to the public hearing and everything's changed. It's not what they got. That's unfair. You have to have all the information available for the residents.
But it can change
Right.
during the public hearing process.
Yes, I can.
What's that?
It can change during the public hearing process.
In front of the neighbors, in
Right,
front of the people.
right,
Yeah, but you
right.
don't make
We-
any
we would-
way before
We
you
would
get the
certainly
neighbors.
intend to submit the revised plan, shortly, prior to the public hearing, not at the public hearing. As a courtesy to you, we would certainly do that. I don't know if that changes the notice to the abutters. They don't get a copy of the plan. The purpose of notice is to apprise them that there's an application before the board. But nonetheless, I would be prepared to advise the applicant that the plan should be revised and submitted to this board well in advance of the public hearing. Put it that way.
You're talking about, is that the fake roads? The fake driveways?
Yes, removing the driveways.
See, I just don't like.
Well, one of
I
the
just don't
problems
like
is we have to avoid having the planning board shooting at a moving target. We have to have the plan in place before we send it out to the town boards, before we send it out to the neighbors. Make it available at the town clerk's office to be reviewed. That plan that we're reviewing can't change from the time you submit it and we record the receipt until the public hearing. You're frozen.
Well, there's nothing that says
They're
we
gonna
can't do that.
catch
As was pointed out, we can change it during the
Hold
process.
on,
Well, the members talking.
hold on. They're caught in a catch-22 because we're being asking them to put in roads that they're not planning, or driveways, that they're not planning, if I'm correct, that they're not planning to install. But then we're saying if they want to do their preferred access route, that they can't because they have to do the full engineering, plan on a X, I don't even know how long the driveway is, but that length of driveway. And so I think they're in a catch-22. And I'm just trying to see if there's a way to make this work that just let's divide, let's bring forth to the neighbors, sort of the plan. And if the plan that they submitted, and if the driveway does not work, then they'll have to come back and redo it.
I hate making neighbors come back in and back in and back in.
I'd rather that seems,
Is there,
I'm sure that Rob and Amy know that that's what it would involve. They'd have to come back if they can't make that second driveway. You'd have to come back.
All right, hold on, Bill.
so is a hearing required for shared driveway?
Yes.
Special permit? So that's gonna occur anyway. And I would never refer to it as a fake road, because frankly, if they can't get the special permit for the shared driveway, that's the only way they're getting into that parcel.
But that will involve a whole different hearing because they're gonna have to shift frontage. They're gonna have to shift the frontage for all of them.
They have to blast out that.
Not for Glasgow, but yeah.
But the way I'm looking at this, the plan as submitted is missing access one way and doesn't have the engineering to support the access the other way. So either way, this is unacceptable. I don't know that they can get into their houses yet. So we need engineering, and then once the common driveway comes in, that's gonna require a little bit more.
So you're saying that, but if we do the contingency roads, they don't need engineering from them, just make the assumption that they can get in through those contingency roads. But if we're doing the long road, we have to get the engineering. I'm not understanding this.
I don't understand either. What are we getting for a plan? Are we getting this to do at the public hearing?
I thought you said that if they put in, and I'm not reading it the same way you are, so if they put in these contingency roads that go directly from the street to the parcel that's being,
Good question.
then they don't need engineering for those. All they can do is a dotted line
Well,
getting there.
that's the question I have. Are you going to submit what you submitted here? Are we going forward, putting at the town clerk's office for review and sending out the abutters list for this layout?
No.
All right, then,
No,
then you'll have to get your proposed changes. And then we'll have the same public hearing.
hold it. I thought this was what you wanted to go forward with.
That was our understanding.
One with the drawn in
That makes the
driveways.
difference. Doesn't that make the difference?
Yeah,
That's-
that makes the difference.
Okay, but you're saying they don't need engineering studies
Right.
to vouch that you can do the
The shared
contingency
driveway is off the table. That's
roads. Shared
late.
driveway
Yes.
is totally, even though that's what they want to do and probably will end up doing. We can't talk about it.
What we're gonna talk about is whatever they submit.
Yes.
That's what.
I mean, you can talk
But
about.
we're asking them not to submit it.
You have a lot of discretion through the public hearing process for a special permit. You can talk about that during the special permit,
Okay.
that's fine. But with regard to the requirements to submit this application, it sounds like we've arrived at, the applicant, Rob, with Rob's help, will submit a revised plan showing the driveway access for each lot shown. And that will be enough to.
Without engineering plans.
Without engineering, maybe showing the driveway profile, because that's what a requirement of your A&Rs. That will be enough to accept the filing as complete and schedule the public hearing. Then beyond that, if you want to talk about engineering of those driveways or the common driveway or any other matter that you feel impacts the neighborhood or the town, that's all up for grabs through the special permit hearing.
Do these require a registered professional engineer stamp?
I believe they have it, but
So that's
yes,
severe.
But we're going to be getting a revised one.
you'll be getting, that is my understanding, you'll be getting a revised.
Does it require a registered professional engineer as well as a surveyor? And a land surveyor is only setting the boundaries. They're in the Metzen bound, that's what.
I mean, I believe your special permit criteria references your site plan. your site plan allows for the submittal of any combination of surveyor / engineer and I think architect in some.
You're telling me the surveyor is gonna give me the building construction standards for the roadway? I don't think so. Those are engineered, not paid.
I'm just
I can
referencing.
tell you that on the other large lot frontage reduction plan application that I submitted and that was granted for 108 Grove Street about a year and a half ago, a surveyor stamped both the large lot frontage reduction plan and the conceptual subdivision plan. And I can further tell you that there was no driveway shown to the proposed, to the dwelling on the large lot frontage reduction plan. So
What are you
I
trying to say?
frankly modeled this kind of after that, presumably on the assumption that if there was acceptable then, this would be the same sort of rules.
Are you
would apply.
arguing again about what a planning board's gonna do here?
Let me just ask a question. Is it?
No, I'm just trying to
as far as-
clarify
As far as
whether
the
or not the
engineer
stamp.
goes, when you revise it, is it possible to get an engineer to stamp it?
Sure, anything's possible.
And so we're gonna be doing, the revised plan. And we have to wait until the next meeting to get that revised plan. I'm staring at you again, Michael.
That's up to, that's up to the board. I mean, it's, is that how you want to proceed? It sounds, I mean, Tom gave a strong opinion that, he does not want to receive, he does not want to schedule a public hearing if he knows that the plans are going to change in the meantime, because he does not want to advertise.
It's just not fair. It's not fair to the residents.
No, that makes sense that you don't advertise and put something out if it's not what you're gonna be presenting in front of the meeting. You know, but what I'm saying is, does this mean that they have to redo the thing and come back at the next meeting with the complete filing? And then we schedule the public hearing? I'm just trying to figure out
Yeah.
what
that
steps
makes
we're
sense.
talking about.
That's my interpretation. of
Okay,
the Conversation here.
okay.
But we won't schedule the hearing yet.
Next meeting. We
Which is the 10th.
attempt to schedule it. And again, if it's a waiver, it's what's in the why isn't it best interest of the town? If it's something that has to be engineered, there should be an engineering stamp. You've got your surveyor.
Since this isn't having, let me just ask another question about the stamp. And if you can get an engineer, that's probably great. But seeing that all is that we're really looking for, we're looking at the large lot frontage reduction for 2 lots. And we're not really doing the in-depth engineering at this point. It's my understanding that that's gonna happen afterwards. You know, we have to put the profiles in. But, you know, so this is more of a surveying issue, but it just, you know, if you can get an engineering survey stamp.
Anything that's outside of the surveys legal, then would be an engineering. Septic, stuff like that, there's surveys don't.
They're not
don't
doing
do septic.
They haven't done any
They're
of that.
locating things at this stage. They're locating things at this stage.
All right, so talk with Mike and he'll let us know what's going on, but we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The 10th. Yeah, that is 2 weeks, yeah.
Okay, I think that does it. Oh. Summer schedule.
And we have to do we have to do the officers.
I gave that 30 seconds of thought on the way down. You were chairman before, Margaret.
Yes, I've been chairman before.
So you two also, it's us 3. So
Am I supposed to be a vice chair before I'm a chair?
you're supposed to be. You don't have to be. I've done all of these 9 times, so I'm a little flexible.
I think I think the way that it should be is that your chair,
But if you stay at,
he just got elected. He
I
doesn't
know,
get
but if you stay at treasurer, it would make everything work.
Sure, no problem.
It should be vice chair. If you stay
I'm
treasurer,
not taking those anymore.
member.
Yeah, that gets everyone back to work.
All right, is that a motion?
So moved.
Discussion, I'll second the discussion. All those in favor of, me as chair, you as vice, secretary,
Treasurer.
treasurer, secretary, and member for Margaret,
Clerk.
clerk. Illustrious. All
Uh,
right,
You're the clerk?
I'm the clerk.
Oh, good. I can look for
she
she
was great. She was clerk before. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Because we said to you, clerk's the most important position because you have to write it down and you're the one that gets, so
He
we,
would stop meetings.
so you stop, I said, clerk, you stop the meeting.
That's right. I was clerk when you were chair, so we are coming full.
Yeah.
Because you would stop the meeting. from
I'm still a little
council.
sore from that year, yes. All right, meeting adjourned, if there's no other,
Oh, no, there are a bunch of other stuff on it.
I didn't see it. It should be quick.
Yeah.
It was under, discussion.
I'm gonna like him as chair.
2 pages? Who wrote it?
Oh, did it spill over? Sorry.
Oh, so summer schedule, we gotta do summer schedule.
Design guidelines for regulation of the MBT. Over.
How about summer schedule? That one we have to do the other stuff. I don't know. if it's-
Is there a motion to just have the second Tuesday of July and August as the meeting and to
Sure.
not have a meeting the fourth Tuesday of,
Works for me.
That works for me.
so moved. All that
I, okay.
summer schedule, the second Tuesday of July and the second Tuesday of August.
I was in Cambridge, and I was, for yard sale, they were talking about the fact that Cambridge has just redid their zoning January, I think, February. So now throughout Cambridge,
That's right.
it's 4 stories is
By
allowed
right.
by right,
I'm right.
and 6 stories if you set aside 20% for inclusionary housing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
And it's by right, so all the people that live in the.
And right, there's no setbacks.
Oh, on the street.
It's,
Townwide?
yeah, it's like virtually all the residential zones.
Yeah, I mean,
Or not, it's
basically,
just
there's
one
no zoning,
residential
is there is no zoning.
Wow.
Yeah, it's,
It's like,
Will never be as good as some of the towns on the Cape. One subdivider came in here and says, I said, I had to leave. He said, they shut me down for an endangered flea. And I said, no, that was an endangered animal.
the Cape Cod Commission is.
Yeah.
Unless you have lots of money. If
4
you have
colors.
money, you can do whatever you want.
We're still in
Section
session.
4 colors for your house.
Huh?
We're still in session.
We're still in session, okay.
my mistake.
I believe that,
We didn't adjourn? Adjourn.
okay, the other question, do you need our support for any of these things?
Yes, I would greatly appreciate this, a formal vote of the board to support my grant applications for updates to the zoning bylaw quickly. That is just CMRPC, taking CMRPC's work with the zoning diagnostic that they're doing, just looking to see if there's inconsistencies and things, not necessarily making policy recommendations for changes, but just general language updates.
Sticking in some of the changes that
Yeah,
come through.
Just a letter from the board. Would that be good? A vote in a letter?
Yep.
And there are 2 other things he's looking for.
And then revise your subdivision rules and regulations for mesh problems that we've been talking about over the past year. And then possibly design guidelines for new regulations for the MBTA.
Yeah.
And then see, okay, so moved. That we write a letter of support to.
Or to.
All in favor? Did you write that letter with Mike? Well,
As the
one
clerk.
thing I would like us to consider, one thing that our thing says is improvements to the town, anything of any kind of across the street, the Holy Angels.
Mhm.
They want to make it into an arts center.
Oh.
Fantastic. So I asked him, I said, do you need the money to be able to hold it structurally sound? And then it's gonna be, I believe it's
Town meeting
site plan.
approved that. Town meeting
Yeah,
approved
They
it.
approved it.
Mhm.
But if that's okay, we gotta talk about the parking. If it's village district, so anything within 200 feet can be parked for that. I think it's, we got 200 or 300 feet.
Yeah.
And use, what's the use would not change? Would you go from a church to a,
That's a difficult one. I mean, you're going from a gathering space to a gathering space, you know what I mean, a church to an art center. Is there gonna be a material impact to the demand of use and parking? I would say definitely not. I mean, the churches have high demand, right?
Yeah, but the churches are 1 day a week.
I mean.
Yeah.
Some of these fly-by-night churches, so. I'm just kidding.
But no, I mean, basically, that was the Catholic Church and, they have small stuff, but,
Oh, I was gonna say, not the Catholic churches that I,
Yeah.
but multiple masses during a,
well, no, they used to, but now,
yeah,
but no, I don't, I mean, it's a different type of demand,
yes.
but, it's,
I think they call me a heathen.
No, I think anything, done would likely need a site plan before this board. It's
Because-
unlikely that anything would require a special permit. But most definitely a site plan, because likely anything that they do is going to require something with the parking.
Well, it's also got that, historical marker, just to look at it. What's
Mhm.
that?
GAR, Grand Army of the Republic Building,
It has, wetlands and a brook behind it.
Yep.
riverfront, so on and so forth. But didn't somebody else,
there was what.
another project going on that was gonna kind of determine what all the boundaries were and so.
Yeah.
I got that done. Concom already approved the NRAD on the
Okay,
10 feet,
10 feet, no, 200 feet.
but away from the brook, and then that's it, it was,
No, well, they're locked in now with the existing disturbed area, so I forget how close that is to the river's edge, but,
I remember talking.
Right on the rivers.
Think it's a good idea to put in a arts center there?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of steps that have to, I mean, it's nice to think about it, but they're gonna have to raise a lot of money. And they're gonna have to do a lot before it can become an art. I mean, you gotta do the first steps first. I mean, I strongly support it. But there's just a lot more. I mean, I would have liked to maybe see this
I'm a big
house.
supporter of a
What?
viable.
Yes, that's right. And then whether it's viable or not. Is a question.
It's a very
Is it
difficult.
two usable levels in there?
Well, that's the thing. They haven't really even, to the best of my knowledge, described
how
what
they-
art is.
actually, yeah, the basement is viable as well as
Yeah.
the main floor.
But are they gonna be doing performing arts? Are they gonna be doing studio arts? Are they gonna be doing art shows? Are they gonna be doing poetry? I mean, what are they doing? Because what we need for like performing arts is very different than what we need for arts. And I don't think they're there yet. I mean, but I think it would be silly for them to start investing in that until they know the building's got to move second, which is the next step. And then find out what, so I think there has to be multiple steps.
They were asking me, what is it gonna require? Because they want to know, what are the steps required, and I said, you gotta cost out every step.
Yeah.
You gotta time out and cost out every step, and if we tell you you don't have the parking, or you have to do blah, blah, that's cost. Like to be able to tell them what it's gonna cost them, what the process is, and if they think it's just site plan, I don't think it's a special permit, it's just a site plan, right?
Yeah, no, I doubt it's a, special permit,
It's not solar.
but I will double check, see if there's anything I can find that would, run afoul of that, but.
And what we had across from the country super, there's a dog groomer.
Yeah.
They brought in, there used to be a people groomer,
Oh,
and they asked us if it was met zoning. We went, again, it's going from beauty salon to a beauty salon,
it's absolutely true.
no difference.
Still grooming.
So this would be I think Catholic's pretty entertaining, so we could just go to entertainment.
That's sort of the same thing. We're doing theater, yeah, entertainment.
You got that one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay,
Even.
so can we adjourn? Because I have another, can we adjourn?
Can't.
I make a move, we adjourn?
Second.
Oh, yeah, we're adjourned.
Okay, no, we're not now.